Okay, we ready? All right, good enough. Okay, we continue on with the teaching of the indivisible nature of the realm of phenomena. And we talked about last week what this particular teaching entailed, but now we're going to actually listen to the text of it and go from there. It's quite an interesting work that I think kind of brings us to a head in terms of all that I've been presenting this year. And I think that that's something that will be of great benefit to you. It's even if you listen to it, it's something that isn't necessarily something that you will come to understand via, let's say, conventional knowledge. There is more of an aspect of a Gnostic or a direct knowledge or direct experience, we could say, which is actually beyond knowledge, that comes into play here. And so it's difficult for us to try to hold on to it. As you will see, some of the monks that he's teaching had a hard time with this. So we'll start. Thus did I hear at one time the Blessed One was in the Jeddah Grove in the Natha Dada Park at Sarvasti. He was residing there together with a great Sangha of 8,000 monks and 12,000 bodhisattvas of various Buddha realms and 32,000 gods, who had all genuinely entered into the unexcelled and perfect awakening. Youthful Manjusri genuinely entered into unexcelled and perfect awakening. Youthful Manjusri and the god Ratnavara had also joined the gathering and were present there. Now, when they refer to youthful Manjusri, it's very interesting because it's almost like an analogy of Mahayana thinking versus the study of the elders, the Theravadins. And so we have this youthful Manjusri who has this deep wisdom to him. And he is there and he's going to present, and he has his main initial proponent that's there, and we'll run into him in a moment, that is kind of like a bit of a whipping boy for Mahayana in this context, in terms of that he was associated and held with high esteem by the Theravadins. We talked about this in another sutra that we discussed, but for some of those who have not heard that, then this is where we're at. Now, this god Ratnavara is a very, very high-level god. The term Ratna meaning absolute. So he is very high in his practice, and so this is why he's brought in at this point. And it says, Ratnavara at that time thought to himself, if the Blessed One encourages youthful Manjusri to teach the Dharma, he will surely teach so that all abodes of Mara will be subdued, and Mara, the evil one, will despair. Now, Mara is a representation of what we think of evil or the devil, and it is just something that we look at as unwholesome in terms of this. But Mara comes into play as some part of samsara that wants to detract us from the practice. He will teach so all opponents are defeated, and so that all of those possessed of excessive pride will become free of their pride and reveal their knowledge. So this is interesting because this is a main part of this where he's talking about pride. And the idea of pride is someone who has thinks they know it. And it reminds me of a teaching of my father, because when my father would be teaching us, we would go, I know. And my father would say, you know nothing. Why are you saying I know? You know nothing. And it's something that pride, you think, I know what you're saying. You don't have to tell me this. And that's this kind of an excessive pride, like saying, oh, well, I can listen to this, and you can't tell me anything I don't know. Now, this is a big problem with us, because if we get to this point where we look at things and have an attitude when we listen to somebody that we cannot be taught anything, it's very difficult for us to make any progress, or that we feel that we know what mind is, for instance. And when in this particular teaching, Manjushri is presenting a very, very high level that pretty much says, can you dare to say you don't know? But the pride in us makes us want to say that, say, yeah, I know what he's talking about, even though we don't really know. And so when he's saying that possessed of excessive pride will become free of their pride and reveal their knowledge, here the word in Sanskrit is ajna. And this term means correct knowledge. So this is much more important, because what it's actually, this term could, another definition of it would be right view. So this is a right view. It isn't necessarily knowledge as much as it is the using the perception of mind itself, and actually even going beyond knowledge. We can call it knowledge from this side, but it's not really. It is just applying mind to mind. So we continue. He will teach so that those engaged in the yogic practices will achieve their fruition, and those who have already achieved fruition will gain further distinction. In this way, the lineage of the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha will continue unbroken, so that numerous beings will arouse the mind set on awakening. So this particular God has a very, very good approach and very good heart to have these kinds of thoughts, that he's saying that people who are engaged in yogic practices, we could say, would be beyond just simply conduct that we would have, and it would be in meditation. And so when we're involved in meditation or practices like a yogi, then this is something that we could call contemplation. And another part where it is that he's hoping that numerous beings will arouse the mind set on awakening. So this is very important as well, because when we look at things and we say that we're going to arouse or arise this mind set on awakening, it's a very specific way of conducting your life. You now have set the compass of your life to a point where you are become interested in and determined, and via sincere practice want to become awakened. And so this is important, because once we set out on this path, then the path will generate its own wisdom along the way. So this is very, very important in terms of generating this kind of a mind. The awakening of the thus gone one has gained over incalculable eons, will long remain, and expand. Whether this gone one remains or passes entirely into nirvana, the teaching of the Dharma will cause those who hear it to pass quickly beyond suffering by means of whichever vehicle inspire them. And when we talk about quickly, we're talking about quickly in terms of mind. And we could say quickly, meaning that in this lifetime, one can make substantial progress if they hear the Dharma and set their mind to practice in the proper way. Now, bear in mind, because when they're talking about the incalculable eons, so incalculable eons means, well, so when you say it comes quickly, how long would it take you? An eon? No, that would still be a long time. But in the context of mind, we do not think in terms of that. I think on the Sunday class, Saturday night here, I was expressing that the idea of sudden enlightenment, subitism, there's no difference if one in the snap of a fingers gets it, or one has been doing it for incalculable lives. The entrance is there, and all of that happened before is just seen as illusory in lives, illusory in time, space, everything, because the mind is so far beyond that. Okay. Would it not be wonderful for youthful Manjusri to deliver such a teaching? The Blessed One knew his name. No, excuse me. The Blessed One knew in his mind that the god Ratnavara, what he was thinking, and he said, and so he said to youthful Manjusri, Manjusri, the gathering here wishes to hear the Dharma from you, and therefore please go ahead and speak some words to those who are gathered here. So if you ever run into people that are well-known advisors, don't ask them about the way, but listen. And if you're lucky to hear an impromptu Dharma talk, take it and see it as a treasure to be able to hear something like this. And so here, the people are looking and saying, hey, Manjusri's here. Maybe he would say something, or the Buddha will say something. So they're all waiting. In response, Manjusri replied, the Blessed One, where should I begin my teaching? And the Buddha said, you should begin by teaching the nature of the realm of phenomena. So let's stop here for a moment to contemplate what the realm of phenomena means. Now, we have talked about the conditioned and the unconditioned, the conditioned being, let's say, the Dharmakaya, where things arise from. In some ways, we could call it the Tathagata Garbha, the womb of all things that appear. And here, what we're doing is we're looking at this and saying, this realm of phenomena, where does it come from? And we have to begin to kind of say, okay, well, what is phenomena? And so phenomena, what do you think? Anybody want to weigh in on what they think what phenomena is? Nobody. That's phenomenal.
The manifestation of
a manifestation of mind. Okay. And what other features about phenomena can you mention?
It's empty nature, it's impermanent.
So it's empty. It's empty and impermanent. It is an appearance. And anytime when we talk about an appearance, irregardless of whether we talk about the appearance of a phenomena, appearance of Mara, the appearance of the Buddha, it's phenomena. And in the Diamond Sutra, we know that it says the Buddha cannot be known by its 32 marks because all of that's phenomenal. And so we know that this phenomena is arising. So where does the phenomena arise from?
From the mind.
From mind. And what governs it? Harry?
It's governed by mind. By mind and driven by greed, hatred, and ignorance.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. And then what did I teach you guys the Sanskrit word for that?
Praticca samuppada.
Pratika Samapada. Good. So I want you to be well knowing, okay? And so that you see things clearly. So good. So we know this about all this phenomena. We know that this phenomena is it isn't separate from mind, but we know that it's transitory, it's constantly changing. And it, as well as the Dharmakaya, have no particular form. When we see appearances arise, and just like the Diamond Sutra says that it's like a morning star, a flash of lightning, and a summer cloud, a bubble in a stream, all these things just temporary appearances. And I think that those are the things that you have to, when you see the world, this is the perception that you should see the world with. This perception is different than the perception from the five skandha. This perception is a perception of mind itself. And when mind sees things, it does not see them as things, it sees it as mind. And it sees the causes and conditions arising. It's clear about it. And when it sees people, it does not see people, it only sees mind there. So this gives us kind of a start to kind of a push start into this so that we won't get too lost with what it's saying.
Gilbert, just wanted to say the Lankavatara Sutra says that dharmas, phenomena, are anything that you can imagine.
Including you.
Exactly.
I imagine that.
Well, I could be a non-dharma.
I don't know. You're getting into Michael's non-matter type stuff, antimatter. Okay, we'll continue. All right, and so he says, but blessed one, all the phenomena are the nature of the realm of phenomena. Hence, the nature of the realm of phenomena cannot possibly be a topic to discuss or study. So Manjusri is looking at it from the viewpoint of the perception of a Buddha, where he's looking at it and saying, how can we talk about, we're going to talk about the ocean from within the ocean, and what is there to talk about? It's all ocean. So there's nothing to talk about. So the Buddha says, Manjusri, if those who are possessed of excessive pride, that teaching, it will frighten them. And this is something that could shock people, because when we look at it, even though we're Buddhist, we still have this idea, this ideation that we have an ego, we have that we want to polish up and make enlightened or awakened or realized or whatever. And this has taken everything off the table. It takes the table off, and then it takes the floor away. So it gives you nothing to rely upon. So that can be very frightening. If you don't believe me, take somebody who's not a Buddhist and try to talk to them about this. Some people who have a good condition to practice will go, well, that's very interesting. That's quite amazing. A lot of people will say that's baloney. There's only but one God, or there's this, or there's that, or whatever, and they will make fun of you. Say that, how could everything be a dream? That's like impossible. No, without knowing that it's a dream, commenting on a dream to a dream. So, so we continue. Those who become afraid are themselves the nature of the realm of phenomena. So says Manjusri. And so he's saying, like, why would they be frightened? But he's so far away from that kind of a thing that he doesn't see where the Buddha's taking this to. At that point, Saradvati Putra addressed the youthful Manjusri. Does anybody know who this is? I know Santa will know.
Yeah.
That's too easy for anybody else.
Shariputra.
Sariputra, yes. This is Sariputra coming up. And so we see Sariputra here, and he's entering again to assist Manjusri, and then to be like his person that is instructed with this. And I feel bad in some ways because Sariputra is a very great bodhisattva here, but he's used for the purposes of standing up for what may be a misunderstanding in terms of the practice, and that this more profound wisdom is being presented by Manjusri. So he addresses Manjusri and says, you say that all phenomena are the nature of the realm of phenomena, but within the nature of the realm, there is no affliction and there is no purification. How is it then that sentient beings get afflicted or purified? So he's asking a question that you would ask and say, well, I look around and I see there's good and there's bad. How is this and how is this mind? And how can we even say if there's something like a murder or deaths or a sickness or whatever, how is that pure? I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what kind of foul business is this? You have to have had these thoughts. And so you have to look at this because this is not easy. So even Senta can see, she had, if she's honest enough to kind of smirk a little bit, it's because we have to look at this. This is something that goes to the core of our teaching, to the very essence. And that was what was this incredible Mahayana practice that moved forward with the understandings and move beyond this idea of entering into nirvana, and voila, that's great. But they're going, there's got to be something more to this. So some things are missing here, because how can anybody enter into nirvana? And what does this mean? So that's when we start getting into Madhyamika school and talking about the emptiness of things. But if it's going to be empty, we've got to really look into this. Okay. Manjusri replied, Sariputra, childish and ordinary beings are stricken with errors of the view of the transitory collection. in those who persist in the belief of I and mine, there arises the conception of the self and other. But in those who conceive of self and other, there arises a virtuous and unvirtuous mind and mental states that arise from it. So he's starting off and saying, okay, childish and ordinary beings are stricken with these errors of view. So what is the error of view that they're stricken with? Come on. Nobody knows.
There's a self.
I'm sorry?
There's a self.
Self?
Yeah.
Okay, self. The idea of a belief in self. So they have this idea that there's this I or mine, and that and so they're saying errors of view of the transitory collection. Very interesting. So what does transitory collection mean?
Are they talking about the skandhas?
I'm sorry?
Are they talking about the skandhas? The five
They're talking
skandhas?
about, in part, they're talking about the skandha, but even more than that, what is transitory?
Impermanent.
Transitory means it's coming and going, coming and going. Excuse me. It's phenomena. Whatever's phenomena is a transitory collection. And yeah, and you're talking about the skandha, with this, what you'd call the heap. Because one of the other words for skandha means heap, H-A-H-E-A-P. And so it's saying all of this is a collection. And so when they look at that, they have the idea that there is an I that is looking at it and creating a duality, subject and object. And if they did not do that, if they do not create the subject and object and this duality, from where would there be virtue and unvirtuous acts? Think about it. There would not be. But it is in this splitting, this illusory splitting of reality, that there's a creation of time and space. So, but for that, there would not be the creation of time and space. There would not be a phenomenal world. Sorry, because some of you are going like, tweet, 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 tweet. I don't know. Do you get this? This is really incredible. I mean, it's going right to it, and you just have to leave this thinking dualistic mind behind to see this and jump. And it's right there. It's right there. Because Manjusri is telling you this. This is like really, really good stuff. But you have to leave it behind. You can't go and read an entire page without understanding what's on the page. You can't go into a paragraph without understanding the whole paragraph. You can't go to the line. You can't go to the word, the next word, until you understand the word that you just read. What does that mean when they're talking about this and they're talking about these collections? And it's very interesting because the interpreters on this particular one of the 84,000 group, they westernized this quite a bit in terms of that they didn't use Sanskrit words that needed interpretation. They used words, and their words are in some ways loose, but in some ways it takes looking into it from the heart to be able to interpret what they're saying, and using their heart to see what they meant by interpreting these Sanskrit words. Okay, so we continue on. Venerable Sariputra, for as long as such beings take birth within the realms of existence, we call this an affliction. So long as they're there, we call it an affliction. And this is from the samsaric side. But in fact, there is no affliction. There's nothing like that at all. But we see this as a product of pratika samappada, causes and conditions. This is what the Buddha taught from the very beginning, the dependent origination, how things come into being. If we break that cycle, it's all gone. Where did the people go? It was a dream. It's an illusion. But you go, but I don't want to do that. I mean, then I'm gone. So there is the fear that comes up because we have an ignorance thinking that there's something here to preserve. So if all of a sudden there's a fire or whatever, then I have to go and get all my papers or whatever I'm going to do and take it with me. And you're afraid of leaving anything behind. But it's because we do not understand that this world is an illusion. It's within mind. It's okay. So we continue. However, Venerable Sariputra, affliction is the very nature of the realm of phenomena. So this is interesting. Now he's saying, affliction is the very nature of the realm of phenomena. What? Is any of you not afflicted? Never been afflicted in your lives? Raise your hand right now. Electronic hand, please. I want to see the perfect being that's never had a cold, never been insulted, never fell down in their life, even when they were young. Yeah. Very interesting. It's the nature of phenomena. Ergo, your phenomena. It's okay. It's mine. It's mine. It's all right. And the very mind that you use to move through this phenomena is the Buddha mind. It's the Buddha mind. It is why in the Madhyamika school, and I keep repeating this, the two truths doctrine is correct. You need not expound on it and say one exists, one does not exist. It's the two truths. What are the truths? The truth, phenomena and the absolute. There's no difference between them. No difference. Only if an illusory sentient being clings to a life and being, then there is an affliction there. The affliction then creates the phenomena. The phenomena continues on. We have times when we are the bug, and then there's times when we are the windshield. This is this world. It's just like that. Hence, to know the affliction is indeed the very nature of the realm of phenomena, which we call purification. So to know this, to know that this world is illusory, this world appears from affliction, is the purification. In fact, there's not really a purification. The mind is just pure. It's just, wow, mind is pure. It's not easy to do that because it's hard to give up samsara. This is all we know. Don't think about that. Contemplate that. This is all we know. So it could be really scary. So if all of a sudden the plant behind me disappears and the light, the room and everything, where am I going to go? I'm going to be homeless. I'm not going to be able to abide anywhere. Isn't that Manjushri? Ultimately, there is no affliction or purification, and nothing is afflicted or purified. Let that sink in. When youthful Manjushri gave this teaching, 100 proud monks liberated their minds from defilement with no further appropriation, meaning they no longer were picking up anything. They liberated their minds. Venerable Sariputra then said to the youthful Manjushri, Manjushri, as you gave this teaching, 100 proud monks liberated their minds from defilement with no further appropriation. Manjushri, the realm of phenomena is flowing from you. Great praise. Is Sariputra correct or not correct? Anyone?
Not correct.
Not correct. Yeah. And why is that?
Where is the realm of phenomena flowing to?
And anything else? Look at the sentence before that. 100 proud monks liberated their minds from defilement with no further appropriation.
Manjushri just said that affliction is the very nature of the realm of phenomena. So, these proud monks liberating their minds from defilement, that's not what Manjushri's been teaching.
Well, let's see if you're right or not. Manjushri, this is like stylistic writing where they give Manjushri like taking his time through this. He would be a great lawyer in a courtroom. And he's just taking his time with all of this and letting it move naturally. So he said, Sariputra, what do you think? Is the nature of the realm of phenomena something that was bound in the past and later liberated? So he's saying, because you said these guys were liberated, what do you think? So he replies, Manjushri, the nature of the realm of phenomena was not bound in the past, nor is it later liberated. Manjushri, the thus gone one, has trained many hearers, and so their minds are liberated from defilement with no appropriation. So he's saying, well, there's all these sentient beings that the Buddha has taught, and then their minds are liberated from this no further appropriation. So is he on the right step or not at this point? Or is he stepping in the wrong place? Anybody? You gonna let Sempha take all the glory today? Come on.
Well, there's nobody to liberate, so it would still pre-assume a self-referentiality, a ego, or something, for something to be liberated.
It is speaking your mind that moves you further towards this, whether you're right or you're wrong. It is getting those words out, getting that kind of a feeling out. Like I said, it doesn't matter. There's no grades here. No, so don't be shy to step up. Look, Manjushri's taken it to Sariputra, who's really, really high up. So, you know, if you think you're better than Sariputra, you know, that would be very, very difficult. So if you're wrong, it's okay. So then he said, Manjushri replied, well then, Venerable Sariputra, from what mind state were those monks liberated? So what is this mind state that they were liberated from? Manjushri, the thus gone one, has trained many heirs so that their minds are liberated from the defilement and with no further appropriation. Venerable Sariputra, are you one of thus gone's heirs? I am, Manjushri. I'm one among the thus gone's heirs. Venerable Sariputra, is your mind free from appropriation and liberated from defilements? Indeed, Manjushri, it is liberated. Venerable Sariputra, was your mind liberated in the past? Will it be in the future? And is it being liberated in the present? Venerable Sariputra, the characteristic of the past mind is that it has ceased. The characteristic of the future mind is it has not yet come. And the characteristic of the present mind is that it does not remain. That being so, Venerable Sariputra, in which one of these is that the liberation of your mind? So what time did this happen? Manjushri is expounding on the emptiness of everything. The emptiness is not just simply the emptiness of form, but temporally and spatially. Venerable Sariputra replied, Manjushri, this mind was not liberated in the past, is not being liberated in the present, and will not be in the future. Manjushri responded, well then, Venerable Sariputra, what is this liberated mind of yours? To this, Sariputra answered, Manjushri, it is only in relative terms that the mind is said to be liberated. Ultimately, there is no bound or liberated mind to be observed. So he squeezed that out of him. And so Manjushri asked him, would you say that the nature of the realm of phenomena is relative or ultimate? This is a heavy question. This is a big question. What is he asking him? Anybody know?
Is he asking if it's for real that there is a thing where phenomenon is a reality for other people?
Well, he's asking. Well, yeah, in a way that's what he's asking. Rongchen?
Yeah, phenomena and absolute are equal. So if there's no phenomena, there's no absolute.
When you say are equal, what do you mean by equal? Oh, we lost your voice.
The phenomena and the Buddha nature, they are equal. Because if there's no phenomena, Buddha nature doesn't manifest. So that's what I see what it means.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Lewis.
Isn't it that there has to be an absolute in the relative, and there has to be a relative in the absolute? So there is no relative absolutely, and there is no absolute relatively.
What would it be called?
If we had to put a name to it, then it would be phenomena. So we can't have a name for it.
Senta, take us home.
It doesn't exist, and it does exist at the same time.
Go ahead, Senta. Don't blow it. Not to put pressure on her, right? What is he referring to here? He's saying relative and ultimate.
He's talking about mind.
He's talking about the two truths doctrine.
Mhm.
He's talking about the Madhyamika school here, and he's saying, is it relative? Is it apparent reality, or is it ultimate? Is it absolute? Is it has to be one or the other? So all of you kind of are dancing around this, where you're seeing what's happening, but you also have to read it in the context of the history and the, let's say, Buddha politics in terms of how these things are being presented, and saying, look, it's like this. You're going to be trapped if you say it is or it isn't, or it could be or can't be or whatever. No matter what you do, when you open your mouth, you can't do it. It is fundamentally what? Empty. It's empty.
Yeah.
Completely empty. We don't have to get to any intellectual discussion about this. It's empty. And when you look at this, this is how you go into this kinds of treatises or discussions in this way. It is something that requires your sincerity and your probing to look at this and putting yourself on both sides of this. What is Sariputra thinking? What is Manjusri displaying? And so Manjusri is going to come out on top all the time, because Sariputra is operating in the world of the samsara, and Manjusri is beyond that and just simply is letting it flow, as Sariputra was saying, he's letting it flow, but there was nothing. That is just the nature of mind. And he was only able to see the flow, but was not able to accept the suchness of mind. Time to have. Okay. Manjusri asked him, Venerable Sariputra, how then can you declare that the mind is liberated in relative terms? So he's trapped them to say, because now what's he going to say? If he says something is there, he has to backtrack all the way. Otherwise, he can't go forward with this, because it cannot hold water, philosophical water. That position is untenable. So Sariputra asked, so whenever you don't know that, you just ask a question back. Manjusri, is there then never any mind that's liberated at all? So he's going all in, putting all his chips in. You see that? It's just really incredible. He's going in and saying, then you're saying that there's no mind whatsoever that could ever be liberated. No mind. Manjusri answered, Venerable Sariputra, if there were a mind to be observed inside, outside, or in between, then there could also be a liberated mind. So he's saying if there's a mind to be observed outside, inside, or in between, what does this remind you of in terms of the conversation in another sutra? You know which one, Michael? Which one?
The Shurangama Sutra.
That's right, the Shurangama Sutra, where the Buddha is asking Ananda where his mind is at, and saying, is it outside, inside, or halfway between, or whatever? So he's kind of dropping it down now and going, hey, you remember that sutra, the Shurangama Sutra with Ananda? And so he's kind of, this is kind of like a refrain coming back into this wonderful symphony from a different one and just being put in there. And so then he says, however, Venerable Sariputra, there is no mind to be observed inside, outside, or in between, and therefore no bondage or liberation whatsoever. Now, we got the last little part, and then we'll save the rest for next week. At this point, I haven't seen participants drop out yet from here, but Manjusri had quite a few of them. So he said, at this point, 200 monks from the retinue heard this teaching by Manjusri. They rose from their seats, getting ready to leave. They said, if nobody is ever liberated and nobody ever will be, what is the point of us going forth and taking vows to become a monk? If there's no such thing as deliverance at all, then what is the purpose? Would it be to serve and train on the path? Disapproving and disconcerted, they left the gathering. They were not happy. They were not happy. They were going like, I'm here. I eat gruel every day. I have to work in the fields, and I have to cross my legs, and I have to subordinate myself and do all these things and wear the same clothes every day and shave my head. And for what? What do I get out of it? Doesn't make sense. So they were concerned. They were concerned, saying, what a chip. Here's Manjusri way up on high telling them that they're never going to get liberated. But they just don't see it because they're in samsara. And in samsara, there's a notion of duality, and this notion of ego is this fundamental ignorance that clouds their ability to break through. They cannot see this. They cannot see that it works in this way. So it's hard for them to do this. If you don't believe me, you talk to people and they'll say, oh, you're right. You're cuckoo, This takes faith. It takes looking into, it takes probing and the generation of very profound wisdom to be able to get through this, to break through these barriers. So for these 200 monks, they could not do it. They were shocked and they were frightened. And that's when Manjusri was telling the Buddha, some of these people, they're going to get frightened with this. But it doesn't make sense because they'll be frightened, but they all belong to the realm of phenomena. It's all there. It's all connected. Okay. Considering what ought to be done to train those monks, youthful Manjusri projected an emanation in the form of a monk on the road in front of them. So they were out walking already, all like going like, what the heck, And so all of a sudden he puts a monk in front of them to talk to them. So this is where we'll come in next week. So we'll save that for next week. But I think we made some good headway tonight. If you're listening sincerely, if you don't get it, it's okay. Just don't be frightened, okay? Don't throw it all out. Just hang in there with us, because this is good stuff, okay? And I hope that you really listen sincerely, and because you're listening not for yourself, but for those that you're going to present this to, okay? All right, I'll take questions now.
Gilbert, I suppose I'm the first one of the question.
Go ahead.
So, in here, Manjushri is asking, would you say that the nature of the realm of phenomena is relative or ultimate? And then Sharipatra is saying, within the nature of the realm of phenomena, neither the relative nor the ultimate can be observed. What if, we sometimes talk about the realm of phenomena that appearances are relative, but their nature is absolute or ultimate. I just wanted to kind of work on talking about this in the right way.
I don't know if there's a right way to talk about it. It's something that is kind of beyond the words where you're at this point. You just have to kind of contemplate this. No, any words that I say will not be from where you're at now of benefit to you. It is something that it's very interesting. What I would say is really kind of study that Madhyamika school and Nagarjuna and why Nagarjuna didn't go further with it, and then you see it all fits into place. Everything, irregardless of where you're at and what schools mean. There's different schools, and even in Tibetan, there's so many different schools and different ways that they study, and we're only touching like the surface of these philosophical discussions in terms of that. But I don't think we need to get into the scholarly aspect of it as much as we get to the bread and butter of it, and looking at it and saying, okay, this is the foundation of what's happening. This is really Buddhism. But how many of you have heard this from other teachers? I mean, presented in this way, it's not easy to do, but it is essential. I mean, it's really, really essential when we're going at this, and we're no longer talking about the 6 paramitas and the Eightfold Path and whatever else, that we have 5 precepts, those are given. Those are your prerequisite courses to this. And I'm presuming that you have that as a background when you come here, is that you should already have that kind of a background here. So this is like a postgraduate class. And you're looking at it and saying, okay, this is what's there. No, this is taking care of the novice by doing this and not withholding the profound from them. When would you begin to tell people about this? It's all there. It's all the ancient Chan masters talked about this. They laid it out all the time. We just choose not to pay attention or present that or emphasize that aspect of this phenomenal nature. But when you get into these deeper sutras, when they talk about the conditioned or unconditioned or the abiding place of the Manjushri, these are the things that drive it home for you. and mind will teach mind. It will take the all of the ignorance out of it little by little. You won't even know. You won't know when you know that that's happened, because there's no self there. You still function, and when I cling to samsara, I suffer like everybody else. When I don't, then my mind is resting. Not bad, pretty good deal. Okay, so even if I was totally wrong, my life's pretty good in terms of things, and you know, I can't complain with it, and I don't do harm to people. All of those, in terms of the paramitas and the Eightfold Path and all the different things, they all come natural because they're naturally in mind. They're there already. You don't have to remind yourself to be that way. That is mine. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry, Gilbert. I also have similar question on the same sentence. Because yes, I understand that we are talking about the nature of the mind that has no past, present, and future nature. However, can we look at it in a not so ultimate point? Like there is a timeline, like from there was a moment where the Venerable was liberated. And just like when Venerable Moggallana was liberated, he actually make a verse and says that from then on, he has changed. He's like a newborn person. So there was some kind of a time, maybe.
This is all what I would say to stop the baby from crying. We talk about this. We give inspiration, give faith. When we talk to people. Beginning classes, it's not so easy. You will not hear me talk about this in this way, this deep, but I will talk about a dream world. We teach people in accordance with their ability to understand. This class here is more of one that is more advanced in its way. And sometimes I teach the rudimentary, and I'll go back and then. But I've been teaching rudimentary, and then this year I've really been hitting heavy on more profound. But when we look at it and we say, did those things really happen? Yes, because it's not negated by the relative truth. But we understand that it is in the nature of phenomena, and it's in there fundamentally empty. So when we look at it, and then if you go to play the reel and say, when was he liberated? And you go, well, that was a long time ago. Well, where is that? Bring it back. You can't bring it back. So it's interesting in terms of that, because all of a sudden you're dealing with rules or I should say that the rules of samsara don't govern the rules of mind. Mind governs the rules of samsara and creates the rules in samsara. But mind makes the rules. And the most important one is pratika samapala, causes and conditions never fail. So this goes beyond that, and then just essentially just says, no, there wasn't a liberation of saints. This is, how would you say, and where were they liberated, and where are these saints? And even though we see saints and we say, okay, in this realm there are appearances, we understand that they're appearances. We understand they belong to the relative side, but that does not make them more real or more permanent. It just, we understand from where the appearances are projected upon, and it is that mind field, mind ground, not only that the appearances are projected upon, but they are the exact substance of mind itself. And in this way, being the fabric of mind, cannot be separated from it. So this is how we look at this, and it makes a big difference in terms of how we practice. Don't be it. You may be a little bit confused. It's okay. That's perfectly fine. It's good to be confused. It's good to challenge and look at this and see from where we're going with this. We haven't finished this treatise completely. We'll get there, and hopefully by the end, a lot of those questions will be answered. And the next part is where there's more of an in-depth probe into all of this. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Sue.
Yes, hi Gilbert. I got couple of people asking me about, is there a Chinese translation of this sutta?
I don't know, because it's from the group, the 84,000. I don't know what the rest of their name is, but I picked it up from there. So I don't think so. I think they're an English translation, dedicated English translations. So
It does appear that there is a Chinese version.
Yeah, there may be it, and it, they could try to
hold on. Who posted that? Okay.
Yeah, they can look and try to. There's a reference to a Sanskrit name that they might be able to Google.
Henry, you say now it's 大宝基金第26卷到30卷，26卷法界体性无分别。Who's Henry? Not Harry. Henry. He gave.
Well, there's a Henry here somewhere then.
A Chinese name of a Chinese sutta. And there's a chapter number 26 to number 30. I guess I'm reading it from his note to the chat from everybody. Thanks, Henry.
Okay.
Henry,
so,
are you from Vancouver? Anyway, doesn't matter. Thank you.
All right, no problem. If you can find it in Chinese, you can put it on the WeChat or the also the other forum as well.
Can
Jane
somebody
seems to have
copy
found
that
something.
and post? I'm sorry. Can somebody copy that and post in the WeChat?
I just did.
Okay.
There you
thanks.
go. Okay, thank you, Jane.
Okay.
All right. And that's good. I mean, people who English second language, if you can find it in Chinese, all the more so, Okay, any other questions? No questions today? Any further ones?
Gilbert, I have a question.
Yes.
Gilbert, I think from the almost a nirvana point of view, actually, all of us are phenomenal. I mean, you know that. But from your teaching, you take us very seriously, very sincerely, making every effort to deliver us. So I'd like to know from you, from your perspective. I mean, our existence, you take our existence really for real, and then you try to liberate us. So from your perspective, from my perspective, and if you look at from the Diamond Sutra perspective, I mean, it is all step by step. So at our step, you have to treat us for real until we know how to practice better. And anyway, this is my I like to know from your perspective so that we know we can formulate better.
I will not save you.
We don't need
Think
to.
about that.
Yeah. I understand that we don't perish, but still, if we don't have the right path, I mean, we're going to continue to be confused. We're going to continue have to repeat in cycles. I mean, that's. I mean, even though it's a dream, we will have one dream after another.
Rongchen, since I knew you and talked to you, and you were giving me a ride to the retreat center, you've improved so much since then. And you really improved an incredible amount. Just be patient. Be patient. You know, you were brought up to a very fast speed very quickly, and I'm very happy with your progress. Just stay with it and try to absorb this and try to have the feeling. It will come to you. It will come to you. Your questions and your confusions, they're healthy. Okay, they're healthy as long as you don't try to preserve Rongchen. Okay, it doesn't matter. You'll still be there, even if everything collapses and reboots again. You'll still be there. You'll still have a bad stomach or whatever. You know, all the problems that you have. They'll still be there. All your victories, they'll still be there. You know, your family, everything. It just, the only difference is you'll know the difference as to of the appearances that are there. But you're doing very good. So I want to encourage you rather than discourage you or anything. But when I say I will not save you, mean I will not save that which believed to be Rongchen, and to keep him going on to who knows what he's going to be called in the next lifetime. Okay. All right. Good. I mean, these are questions. This is an honest question by Rongchen, and this is not easy stuff. This is stuff that is going to take some doing with you to work on. No, if it was so easy, like I said, I could just be handing them out like candy, you know, and there's people that you can go to and they can, you know, for $5,000 or $10,000 can confirm your realization. But so what? You know, you're enlightened to the tune of $5,000 or $10,000. So here, what I'm offering you is a Mani Pearl, a wish fulfilling gem. This Mani Pearl isn't something that you use to wish for something in samsara, but to wish for something way beyond that. It's a better deal. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Lucy?
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Susie.
Hi, Gilbert. I'd just like to ask if how could we use phenomena? For example, you said we have been experiencing pain. How do we use this phenomena to contemplate about emptiness and you know, the ego?
You see in the present moment that everything that is appearing is phenomenal. You see that it's transient, constantly changing. You see that it is appearing precisely because of Pratika Samappada. When you see in this way, you are no longer confused about what is appearing. You actually are converting everything to wisdom. When we do not see things in this way, what we do is that we are attaching to ignorance, and we think that these things are real. This sensation is real. This feeling is real. Whatever it is, but all of it, as was pointed out earlier, they're heaps. They're skandha, and so when we look at the world and we say, we know, why is this person saying this? Later on, you're going to know this person is going to say this to me, and I will say this to them. Later on, you don't even have even that thought of that. It's just the mind is just naturally flowing and harmonizing with the environment. But initially what we do is we look at things in a way in which we just see the causes of conditions. We see whatever is appearing is from a cause, and whatever will happen afterwards will be a condition. And so we want to set into motion the best conditions possible in our environment. So our environment includes not only our mind, but our mind environment, the things around, let's call it the relative environment. But there's no difference between the relative environment and the absolute. They're precisely the same. Little by little, the mind will absorb the self, and in that absorption, then we'll see things purely as mind. Okay? Just practice in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Lewis.
Many years ago, I was at the Potula Palace, and I turned a prayer wheel, and the causes and conditions were such that by being there, I felt really good. And it was before or just at the beginning of my practice. And the prayer wheel that I turned there, it feels more real to me. They were large ones than the small one that I brought back from Tibet, which I can hold and touch. And so it becomes more real, and I can almost feel it. And how does that change? Because the phenomena, it was just a phenomenon, it was just samsara, and yet in my mind, it becomes more. And so is that still in the memory, the past, is that still phenomena?
Yeah, your mind is just kind of waxing poetic about turning this big giant wheel, and then you got a souvenir at the souvenir stand, you know, and you brought it back, and kind of reminds you of that, turning that big giant wheel. But you can't even imagine how big the wheel is. I mean, it's infinite. I mean, absolutely infinite. When you're turning that wheel, it's just so incredible. It doesn't move mountains. It doesn't move worlds. It moves universes. That's where you should look.
Thank you.
Angela?
Hello, Sensei Gilbert. Amitofo.
Amitofo. Oh, there you are.
So, I was looking at these monks who left, and I can feel their kind of sentiments. And you know, at times I've had this sentiment as well. Kind of like dropping into the, oh, what's the sake of it for? You know, it's all emptiness anyway. And one of the phrases that kind of kept me going is Shantideva's, I think he said something like, if there is one thing that you can grasp onto, it is the idea of enlightenment, right? So, but then sometimes even thinking about this also leads me to this same kind of sentiments this 200 monks have. So I would like to ask from you, like, what advice do you have for me or for people who, you know, I mean, inevitably, we might drop into having this kind of sentiment, and we might not have an emanation of Manjushri in front of us, you know, unlike these 200 monks. So what advice do you have for us who share these sentiments from time to time? Yeah, thank
you. Will tell you something that Shifu said. Shifu had talked about that we have to have both eyes on our practice. If we have one eye on enlightenment and one eye on the practice, it's not enough. And when I began to make progress in my practice is when I followed that advice. I would go to retreats and I'd go, oh, here's the big one, it's coming, and I can feel it. And I would work so hard and hard and hard and hard and hard to try to generate something that sounded like an enlightening experience. Just totally exhausted and everything. And then saying, this has to be it, and then talking to Shifu, and Shifu was kind of like, okay, just go back, practice, whatever. And that's what I did. And I let go of the idea that there's anything to attain. I just simply practiced in the way that I should practice. And it wasn't that I was hoping someone was going to confer anything to me, or that I would ultimately get it if I went step by step. It was something that as you practice, you let go of that. And that no longer is any kind of a goal that you have. You set that in your vow, but you don't take your eyes off of the present in terms of practice, and you work your hardest to try to get there. Shifu, he spent 7 years, in a biguan, in a solitary retreat. That's the shortcut. So if you want to do that, I'm sure we could arrange it with Dharma Drum, and you can go there. And I'm positive that you will emerge, after 7 years, enlightened. But will you do it? And so it's funny because Master Shen Hua used to tell people, well, I can tell you the shortcuts to doing this, and this was in a Western audience. And he says, all of you give up sex. And he said, see, I told you, but you won't do it. And so the thing is that we practice in accordance with our ability. And the more we practice, the more it seems like our ability is, and more time that we have to practice. And so this is what we do. So the more you put into it in the present, without looking at any kind of a gain or anything, or to hold on to this idea of enlightenment, is not the right way. What we do is we make a vow to become enlightened, but we don't put it on a clock. We just have patience. The more patience that you have, because patience is a virtue, and it's something that we don't really understand, true patience. But if we practice that in the right way, it helps us a lot in everything we do, from our relationships with people to understanding the world around us. And so if anything, I would say, look into patience and apply that in the present moment. And then you won't be too far from it. Okay. Okay, absolute last question coming up. Anybody? Going. Okay, well then that's it for the night. Great questions, great listening on your part. I thank you all for listening sincerely. This is not easy stuff to go through, but you really hung in there, and I'm very appreciative of that. So we will pick it up next week, and we'll find out what this monk tells all these 200 monks, whether you can change their mind or not. Okay, so thank you again. Amitofo. I will see you later. Bye-bye.
Amitofo. Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank
you.
you, Gilbert.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you, Gilbert.